from Film Club, and today I'm going to be interviewing MPs and Peers about women in democracy for Parliament Week.
We have to somehow encourage more people, more women, more girls to come forward to say that this is a career choice that is something I'm prepared to look at.
According to a recent poll, England rates 58th in the world for percentages of women in Parliament. Is it fair to say that our Parliament is a bit of a boys' club?
Well, certainly in the House of Lords we're in the minority. We're 1 in 5. But we're making our mark felt, and I think that's really important, that girls at school can see women in Parliament standing up for things that they care passionately about, and then they'll think, oh yeah, I'm interested in that issue.
We have, for example, a female Home Secretary. She will never, ever find herself being presented without somebody referring to the fact that she stood up at a Conservative Party conference many years ago wearing leopard skin shoes.
I watched The Iron Lady. Do you think it's harder to be taken seriously as a woman in Parliament, and is it harder to get your point across?
It was hard for her to get selected. It's still hard for women to get selected for good seats. But to be taken seriously in Parliament, you've just got to be very good. That's the truth of it.
His union paymasters have called a strike deliberately to cripple our economy. Teachers cannot teach when there is no heating, no lighting in their classrooms. And I ask the right honourable gentleman, whose fault is that?
There was a real battle going on as to who would run the country. Was it the trade unions or was it the elected politicians? And several men had a go at trying to tackle the unions in the 1970s, and they had failed. But Mrs. Thatcher came along with the strength and courage and determination to make this country great again and to make sure that it was elected politicians of whichever party that made the decisions and not any other group in our society, and she succeeded.
Anything I could have done at that time that was legal to get rid of Margaret Thatcher and her, for me, obnoxious and destructive policies, I was prepared to do.
What film would you recommend to young people to learn more about democracy?
There's a marvellous film with James Stewart called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and it shows James Stewart standing up in the Senate in Washington and filibustering.
It's a lot of hoy. This isn't your country, it belongs to a lot of James Taylors. Oh no, not me. And anybody here that thinks I'm going to do that, they got another thing coming.
Politics is not the exclusive preserve of politicians. We, the electorate, we're the other half of that. And if the other half doesn't accept its responsibility, and that essentially is what I'm talking about here, then yeah, I mean, all of us sitting on those green benches, why would we take any notice?
The first film that I practically ever saw was Mary Poppins, which of course did have a suffragette message.
And Mrs. Ainsley, she was carried off to prison, singing and scattering pamphlets all the way.
I'm glad you're home, madam. I've always given the best that's in me.
Oh, thank you, Katie Nana. I always knew you were one of us. We're clearly soldiers in petticoats.
And that was a world, actually, obviously, what really moved things was, I think, the First World War, and where, for the first time, women had a chance to show that they were independent and equal.
Cast off the shackles of yesterday, shoulder to shoulder into the fray.
I'm tempted, suddenly I'm 7 years old and I'm tempted to sing the suffragette song, but I'll resist that.
Well done, sister suffragettes.
In the film Made in Dagenham, ordinary female Ford factory workers protest over getting less pay than men. Do you think it's important that ordinary women become involved in politics?
I think it's really important that women get involved in politics, and by that I mean protesting to change Britain for better at all levels.
You just thought you could forget it and we'd all go away. Well, I'm sorry, but it isn't going to be that easy because we're not going anywhere. We're going to do what we said we would. No more overtime and an immediate 24-hour stoppage.
Why do you think film education is valuable for young people?
I think what film did for me is to go back to something else I said. It didn't matter really what the film was about or what the story was. It is essentially telling the basic thing about politics, actually. How do you create a society in which so many different views, different attitudes, different ideas can actually function and work together? It is a very small world we inhabit, and we do have to be able to get on in it.